Hey everybody, it's Mrs. D and I'm here with a new playlist. This is going to be video 1 in a playlist of 5 videos that give tips for the different types of courses that Outschool offers and how to get them listed. So the first one that we're going to talk about in this video is Flex Course. Now, what is a Flex Course? Flex Course is asynchronous learning where students watch videos, read, and do tasks at their own pace. That means there's no live meetings. Now, one of the things that is difficult with a flex course is that Outschool requires them to be very interactive, even though that's generally not what the learners want. And so, one of the things I'm going to talk about today is how to avoid getting that um, email that requires revisions to your listing and includes the I have, you have activity. That is broken immediately as soon as somebody does not participate in that, which most of the time they don't participate in. So we're going to talk about all that kind of stuff. Now, why are flex courses a good idea? If you cannot teach live courses, this is a good way to get some passive income. So there's that. And also because it reaches a wider audience. You can always have a one-time or an ongoing course or a multi-day course and turn that into flex. And then you can reach learners that maybe don't have the same time zone as you or are not able to meet the scheduling that you offer. So let's talk about the 5 tips. Number 1 tip is has to do with creating. So when I create my class listing, I create a detailed outline for each week. And then I request the class. Now, each week is going to consist of a teacher video that I record, and I either use OBS or Zoom to record that video, and I host it on a Google Drive. I do that because there are a lot of families on Outschool who do not like YouTube. So if you're listing on YouTube and using even a private link, just that YouTube name will alienate that group of people. So to reach a wider audience, I use Google Drive. So the list, and I use Google Drive a lot for a lot of things. So every week there should be some kind of at least one video of lecture. I prefer shorter lecture or presentation of the information to longer ones. So I'll break them down into subtopics. Some reading to go along with them if that's necessary, some examples, some how-to videos. And then after that, I also like to put up a discussion post. A discussion post where they might read something or they might be responding to a question or a video asking, well, what was difficult for you? What was the most interesting thing you learned? Where they can participate in that discussion, comment on someone else's as well. Now, that's not enough for Outschool. So, we also have to have an interactive group type of activity where the learners are going to interact with each other. So, even those discussion posts, they might interact. It's not enough for Outschool. So, some ideas for that interactive element that Outschool is going to want and avoiding the I have, you have email is to create collaborative boards where students are going to be able to post pictures and comments. A good place to do, and I'll talk more about resources in a minute, but Padlet's a good place to do that, and Nearpod is also a good place. Chain activities where students will create, it's like the I have, you have, but it's just a different take on it, where students will start a sentence or start a story and only do a little part of it and then wait for somebody else to do their part, and they build off of that. Scavenger hunts are another one, and normally how I do that is I have them looking through the material that's been presented, whether it's the video or the reading, to answer a question that I have posed, and then I do it in a way that the group then has to participate by answering a question and posing their own question. So that becomes even more interactive for them. Then there's also group brainstorms. You can create a brainstorm on Nearpad and then allow the groups to go in there and add to that brainstorm. You can also do that on Google Jamboard. I don't have a lot of experience with Google Jamboard. Then I like to create A to Z lists in Google Docs where we allow it to be edited by anybody and share it that way. And then whoever has access to that link can go in there and add 3 to 5 answers in a list of A to Z that has to do with the topic that you're studying. That way it's not a chain, so it doesn't depend on, one person doing A, one person doing B, one person doing C. It's something they can go in and add any 3 answers that they want from A to Z. Polls are a good one, which you can use Google Forms to create polls. Also peer evaluations, where they might post some of their work and the peers will evaluate them. You can use Google Forms for that as well. I'm not sure what poll options other than Google Forms are available right now due to the COPPA regulations that are coming about. So I'm just saying Google Docs. So that brings me into the second tip of this video, which is resources. So the COPPA compliant resources is something that maybe you're finding a little bit difficulty with. And it really does affect flex classes more than anything else, because most anything that you are doing in a live class, in an ongoing multi-day live one-time class, it's fine for you to be screen sharing. The issue is when students are clicking and going on their own. Okay, so keep that in mind with the COPPA thing. So in the flex classes, that's a lot, because we're often directing them to these different sites. So some things that you can use in your flex classes are YouTube, even though, like I said, I try to shy away from them, but sometimes we do use it, right? But if you embed your YouTube link into the Google Outschool classroom, it will create a cookie-free link where the kids they're not being tracked. And that's really what COPPA is about. So just embed it right into the Google Classroom in a post. Not Google Classroom. You can't use Google Classroom. Forget that I said that. Outschool Classroom in a post. Nearpod, you can use that. Kahoot, you can use that. Padlet, Google Docs, Google Forms, Google Slides. Google is super useful. Also, I have taken to screenshotting the reading. Like if I had been directing for the Rainforest Flex class, for example, I had been directing students to certain websites to do some reading. So if they are not COPPA compliant, I have been taking a screenshot of the reading and putting it in a Google slide so they can still have that reading, but they're not going onto the website. Another thing to keep in mind is that you can also use groups to create some of these interactive activities, and I've been doing that. I've been creating groups that go along with my Flex course and listing those for $1 so that they can, create a discussion board within that, post a picture and a comment within that instead of having to be directed to another website. Okay, so that's about resources. Now, that's going to be a fluid section for a little while until all of that gets hashed out. Number 3 is, once we list the class, do I just go in there and create everything all at once? Well, if you're like me, you might try to do that just so that it's there and it's ready. But generally, you don't want to do that, because if nobody enrolls, then you've wasted all of this time creating a class that nobody's enrolling in. So a good tip to kind of get some things done for those of us who really, really have to have something prepared, but not overdo it, is to create the first few tasks or the first week or two and then wait for enrollments. That way you're prepared when you get enrollments and you don't feel like, oh my gosh, I have to do everything so fast, right? You'll have the first few things ready to go. You can do that and have a little bit of time to go ahead and do the rest of your, whatever it is that you're going to have your students be doing on a weekly or daily basis. So that's a good tip. Just post the first couple of things and then wait for your enrollments. And then what I do is then I go and I plan everything, right? And then I schedule posts in the classroom so that I can kind of take some of that load off of doing all of that work. All right. So number 4 is about how to schedule and how much to charge. Generally, we're going to see the best results. Like I did not sell a single rainforest class at $100, and it's a 10-week course. So that's $10 a week. So that's not that bad. It's not a bad price, but people see that $100 price tag and it just blocks them off. Okay, so a better idea is to create shorter courses that are 4 or 5 weeks and charge 40, 50, maybe 60. Sometimes we might do that tactic where we charge 60, but we offer discounts in some of those Facebook groups so that you can get your enrollments. But yeah, if you do a 10-week course for $100, it's going to be a hard sell. It's going to be a hard sell. So I have seen a lot more success with pricing them low and making them short-termed, 4 to 5 weeks. All right. And then, like I said, the work goes into the setting up of it, but then once it's all done, it's pretty easy. And this actually leads me to the next point because you're saying, well, what about all of the comments and what about all of the work that I have to do to keep up with the flex course tasks and, keep track of the learners and all that stuff? Well, that's number 5. That's point number 5. And point number 5 is to let the learners determine how the interactions are going to go. Now, there are some parents and students who enroll in a flex class and they don't want to talk to you at all. They want their list of tasks and they want to be left alone to do them. And you won't see a single assignment from them, or you might see a couple of them here and there what they choose to do and share with you. That's fine. That is perfectly okay. It makes less work for you. The parents have paid for the course. Therefore, just let them take the course. Now, does that mean you should list everything all in the first week? No, 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 absolutely not, because you don't want them to be able to take the content and withdraw and have all the content. That's why we want to do these scheduled posts and have them post weekly or daily, depending on what kind of course it is and how long the course is. Like I said, post every Monday for the 4 or 5 weeks, and that's it. Then they have access to them. They can't, if they choose to withdraw, they can withdraw, but they're not getting the entire course for free. So then if the learners respond quickly to them. If they don't respond, just leave them alone. Don't chase after them. Maybe once a week, check in, do a generic check in. Hope everything's going okay. Let me know if you need anything. But other than that, they really oftentimes flex learners want to go at their own pace. So that's another thing is to schedule a few weeks extra in the course as well, so that they're not, they don't feel overwhelmed that they have to get it in at a certain time, because they really don't want that. They don't want a teacher bearing down their neck. They don't want deadlines that are set in stone that they have to do. They don't want, mandatory tasks. Really, everything should be optional, flexible, and easy for them to do. So that's pretty much what I've got for flex courses. Keep all that in mind. Go ahead, create it. Let your learners take it and let them decide which direction to go in, whether they're going to be super interactive or not, and enjoy what flex classes can also bring to your Outschool career. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you in the next one.